Hey everyone, it's Anne Sinclair from Digestive Detective. Welcome to Tuesday Transformation or Transformation Tuesday, whatever you like. Today I'm talking about Helena. So she had heard me doing an Instagram live on how perimenopause can affect bowel health and mood, and she thought that sounded exactly like her, so she booked in for a consultation. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Anne Sinclair and I'm the Digestive Detective. So coming back to Helena, there's lots of things going on for her. So she's a 49-year-old single woman. She'd come to see me due to some pretty disturbing changes that she was noticing in her body. She had a really stressful job with relatively long hours. She also had a pretty busy social life. So hello Sonia Ray, she was eating out most nights for dinner. And her biggest symptoms were bloating after eating, stinky farts, which was pretty embarrassing for her considering that she was socializing so much. She wondered if it was something that she was actually eating that was causing this. So some other things that were going on for her periods had become much more irregular and erratic. And she was noticing that she was pretty snappy and had sore breasts around her period. So she was also having bouts of hot flushing as well. And this was really recent for her. And again, she wondered whether this was from the foods that she was consuming. And, as we know, foods can be problematic around perimenopause because some foods like chili, coffee, chocolate can set people off into flushing. And so, really spicy foods as well. So taking Helena's full case history, we decided it was best for her to do a stool test so that she could do in her own home. And I did a Facebook Live yesterday about stool testing and the different options, and that they're not perfect tests, but they're good for people who want to see something in paper, both. So it would take us 4 weeks to get Helena's results back. So while we were waiting for this to happen, we were doing some other things just to give her some symptomatic relief. So I sent her off to the doctor for a pap smear as well because it had been 8 years since the last one. So ladies, if you haven't had a pap smear lately, book yourself in and get it done. For those few uncomfortable minutes, it's great to know that you're really clear from cervical cancer. I think everybody needs to do that, and I regularly ask people, my women clients, have they had one recently? So pop off and get one done. So with Helena, she was a pretty regular exerciser, although she dropped off. She dropped off recently because she said it was due to her work life and her busy social calendar. So we worked together on a couple of strategies to get exercise back into her life more regularly, where she could slot it in without it being too much of a hassle. So she knows herself that it always makes her feel better, especially around her period. And so then we went in and did the food, mood and poo chart, her diary. So by now you all know how much I love that, to track what she was eating and to see what we could find out in that information that was being delivered there while we were waiting for the stool test. So when Helena brought it back to me, we noticed some really big anomalies in her diet. So which is a really good outcome. I love when people can work out for themselves what's missing in their diet. And she was really fantastic at this. So Helena noticed that when she was filling in her food, mood and poo diary, that she wasn't eating as many veggies as she normally would because she was eating out so much. So she could see that she developed a pattern for really quick dinners when she was out with her friends. And they were things like Mexican ribs or tapas. So she was not getting really exposed to her normal vegetable fiber, which happens constantly. I see when people do takeout, because they tend not to be a vegetable portion in it, unless of course they're vegetarian and then they're getting what they need. So Helena explained that she wasn't cooking at home, but when she was cooking at home, she normally ate lots of vegetables, especially things like cabbage, broccoli and cauliflower, bok choy. All of those were her real favorites, but she hadn't had any of these foods for ages. So these veggies, as we know, are Brassica veggies, and they can help us with our detoxification pathways. So they help with our liver, our detoxing of our liver too. So if you're having symptoms of PMS, hot flushing, constipation, mood swings, things like that, it's really good to include a large range of Brassica vegetables in your diet to help get those detox benefits. And they're easy enough to include every day if you can, put it into a mental pattern that you need to have them. They are really powerful detoxes, so get them in if you can. So Helena also noticed that her fiber volume had slipped because she knew she wasn't eating very much fiber, so which was great. When we received the stool test back, it showed that she was down to around 15 grams of fiber a day, which is nowhere near the 28 grams of fiber that's recommended for a healthy gut and for health, for good health in general. And I see this a lot in clinic. People are not eating enough vegetables. So folks, do yourself a favor and eat more vegetables. So with Helena, she knew that, she had a couple more weeks of socializing to get through and thought it would be best for her to take additional fiber at this time rather than try to, really stress her out about getting more fiber into a diet at home. She wanted to be able to go out and enjoy her time with her friends and not have to worry about that. So, which is all good. So stool test showed that she had dysbiosis, and what dysbiosis simply means is an imbalance of gut bacteria. So she had more bad bacteria than good bacteria, and that these were likely causing her digestive systems and likely some of her hormonal symptoms as well, because as we know that bacteria in our gut helps produce our hormones and helps get our bowel to work properly to move these hormones out. And our liver is a pretty busy organ, so if it's not getting the nutrients it needs, it's pretty hard for it to do its job. We also added a herbal mix, which I added a lot of female balancing herbs to, some liver herbs and digestive herbs as well, because that always keeps people moving, quite literally with their bowel, and it also keeps their liver ticking over. I've got the stutters today. So I find herbs are a really good tool to help people rebalance and get back into their bodies, when what they're missing out on. And then lastly, we put in a prebiotic to help with her fiber. And I like to use one that's got 2 fibers in it and not just one that is just like a fiber supplement that doesn't have any other benefits. I try to use one that's a fiber supplement that actually feeds you good gut bacteria. And that would be helpful in this situation for Helena, because it would make her, her dysbiosis change. It would move more to the good because she's feeding only the good bacteria. Because she was going mostly from the office to dinner, and it was really good that she could have supplements that she didn't need to really think too much about. There was nothing that needed to be kept in the fridge. She could take them with her if she needed. So with Helena, as we move forward, after her busy socializing period, I'd seen her again. And she was eating much better after this point in time. And she noticed that her farts had returned to normal and didn't stink at all, which was great. That's a good result. So it's normal for all of us to fart, especially if you're having a fiber-rich diet and that's got rich in legumes and beans and all that stuff. So if you're not farting, you may not be eating enough fiber. So think about that when you are putting your meals together of a day. It's average for the normal person to fart about 14 to 20 times a day, and apparently women fart more than men, which I don't believe. I think a man wrote that study. So just make sure, if you aren't farting enough, think about what you're eating and consider, are you putting enough vegetables? Is there enough fiber? Are you getting enough legumes and beans? With Helena, she was still having a few menstrual troubles when she came back in, but she'd certainly made a lot of progress. So, this was her 3rd or 4th visit. Everything hadn't cleared up for her automatically. And she still noticed she was still suffering from the hot flushes, but they weren't as consistent as they'd been. Life for her was a lot better. It was a lot more manageable. So Helena continues to come today, and her gut is in great shape now. A lot of her menstrual issues have gone, and as she's moving more towards menopause, things are changing for her. So that's a really good result. And you can see that it wasn't a really difficult journey for her. Adding things back in that she loved, that her social circumstances had changed, how she was putting those things into her diet. So if you're struggling with digestive issues, farting, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, or reflux, book in for a free 15-minute consultation. And you can do this by going to digestivedetective.com.au and book in there. I'd love to help you do the same way I helped Helena. See you next week, everybody, for Transformation Tuesday. Have a fantastic week. And if you didn't watch the stool test from yesterday, pop back into the videos in the Facebook section on this page and have a look for it. It's all about the difference between stool testing and why one's better than the other or not, and how you do them, because everybody thinks they're really complicated, but you can do them at home in your own privacy with not too much difficulties. I'll talk to you next week. Thanks, guys. Have a great week.